Shakespeare was a master at the language, at the nuances of the language in the sonnet, but dancers are the masters at expressing a story without words.
Even though there's no words, most of us know this iconic moment in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. This balcony scene isn't just famous in traditional literature, it's also one of the most renowned moments in the history of ballet. But when it's danced, how can we read what's going on? To help us, let's first get across some of the basics of this classic and at times esoteric art form.
To the outside observer, simply stepping into a ballet studio and watching what dancers are doing, you might be forgiven for thinking you'd landed on another planet, because it's a highly stylized form of movement. But this is actually what's quite special about it. Once people understand that it's a tool of creating aesthetic movement and also a tool of facilitating narrative, it becomes a bit of an addiction for both the performer and for the viewer.
Ballet originated in France from Louis XIV, so he's the one that created Versailles and all the splendor. He created the 5 positions, first, second with the feet, third, fourth, fifth. We're creating a rotation with our legs to create an aesthetic. That, I think, is what sets classical ballet apart, is the aesthetic. And through hundreds of years, what's been developed is finding the beauty of a line. Why does this line that create with the torso and the leg create a beautiful shape? And that's what ballet dancers do, is they create beautiful shapes.
I feel that the balcony pas de deux in Romeo and Juliet is one of the most special in the repertoire.
It's a dance Stephen Heathcote and Fiona Tonkin are well placed to break down for us, having themselves starred as Romeo and Juliet in the Pas de Deux, or Dance of Two, for the Australian Ballet.
There needs to be a connection between the two dancers for it to work. And I think that's what was really lovely about dancing with Steve. You know, we could work off each other by just looking at each other. As soon as you hear the music, it just takes you back there again. All of a sudden, in the music, you hear Romeo.
In terms of the orchestration, there's a lot of strings, and we all know strings equals romance, right? So lots and lots of strings, and it's just this beautiful, lush sound.
Prokofiev wrote this unbelievable score of Romeo and Juliet that is considered the greatest ballet score ever written. You're hearing themes, so like in any musical score to a movie, there will be themes, you know, bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. We all know that's Darth Vader. Romeo's theme is different to Juliet's theme, is different to Tybalt's theme. And that's, whether you're conscious of it or not, you sit down, you watch a ballet, you watch Romeo and Juliet, and you start to clock the themes going through the score.
This is where we go into the bell, so he just swings her right up over his back.
Sweeps her off her feet. Upside
Literally.
down. This sequence is what we call a pencil turn, and then into what's called a promenade, ending in a penché, which is where she sweeps her arms forward and her leg is way up behind her.
And now we're going into what we call grand rond de jambe. The leg goes up and down. Now into a jeté with a flip. So a grand jeté
means big jump. Grand.
Big jump.
Grand meaning big, jeté
Yeah.
meaning jump.
And she spins in the air into a fish, and that is a term we call a fish.
We use a combination of the French terminology and just kind of ballet slang, you know. Whereas I'm sure in France they don't say fish, they say poisson. You know?
To be dancing a pas de deux like Romeo and Juliet, every element of the choreography is rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed until there's a point where it is so refined that the dancer then can allow themselves just to feel the music.
The eyes need to be like, and like you stay back to him
Express your story. Good, Shani.
So it looks totally effortless.
It never really is effortless.
No.
It's just the appearance of.
Yes.
It's a veneer that the dancers practice facially and within their body's expression. They're within the character, even though cardiovascularly they're probably heaving at the time. At the point where he's done these 3 very high lifts at the end, this is the moment that leads into the magic kiss. In the real world, this kiss is not the most romantic thing because as the guy, you are puffing your guts out at that particular point. You just have to make it appear as romantic as possible.
So you'll see Juliet do these things called bourrées on the point to mimic how she's feeling inside. It's like her heart flattering. And then they have this beautiful
and a big
hug.
embrace at the end. And then he decides that he can't just leave. He's got to hang off the balcony, do a chin up and kiss her. Doesn't get more romantic than that, does it?
I think ballet, like opera, like classical music, it's trying to find a place in the modern context, in the modern day, but ballet is beautiful. So when you sit down in your seat and you come to see Romeo and Juliet, it's a beautiful performance. The dancers are dancing beautifully. That's something to really hone in on and enjoy the beauty.